So Mick, your overall thoughts of how the evening went?
Well, despite the elation with which Labour activists greeted the result that Gareth Snow had won, when you look at it in a more reflective manner, it's not been a good night for Labour. Opposition parties should not lose safe seats to government, which they did in Copeland. They held on to Stoke Central, but they should have increased their majority when they're in opposition. That's the norm.
And not a good night for UKIP either.
Well, the question is now is, what are UKIP for? They were instrumental in bringing Brexit. Theresa May's claimed authority over Brexit now. She's leading the negotiations. UKIP effectively delivered Brexit, but in effect, once it's done, what's the point of them? They effectively have outlived their usefulness, so to speak. If they can't win in Stoke-on-Trent, they like to call it the capital of Brexit, then where are they going to win in these northern working class cities which they've targeted?
So how damaging do you think ultimately Paul Nuttall himself has been to the UKIP vote? Obviously there was things about Hillsborough, about his address. He actually even claimed to be a student at Staffordshire University, and it turned out he was only here for a week. How damaging do you think that's been for the UKIP vote here in Stoke?
Well, I think there are certainly people who were dissatisfied with Labour who might have wanted to vote UKIP, who found themselves unable to vote for somebody who was at best a serial fantasist and at worst a liar. I strongly believe, by the way, that if Mick Harrold, the UKIP candidate in 2015, had contested this seat, that UKIP might well have won it. A local man, a hard worker for the party, well respected amongst other candidates, he might have had a chance. Paul Nuttall was toxic, and I think that's the main reason why UKIP didn't win.
Do you agree then with Ruth Smith, Labour MP for Stoke North, that ultimately Paul Nuttall is a liar?
Well, I mean, there's a harsh word to use, but you can only claim so many times that someone else wrote your website or you didn't know what was on your LinkedIn profile, etc., before that word gets used, and it's been increasingly used now. He had a terrible campaign. He was not impressive in the hustings, and finally, I think the Hillsborough issue, the misstatement of the lie, if you like, that he had lost close friends in Hillsborough, was what did for him in the end. Two UKIP activists in Liverpool resigning in the few days leading up to the election, I think that was just the thing that tipped the edge, if you like, against UKIP. It was theirs to win, and they lost it.
Talking about Gareth Snow, he did win the seat, but some people think he's pretty uninspiring. Labour reduced the share of the vote. What do we think about him then? Do we think there's going to be more baggage? He's had to retract a few statements that he's made in the past. Do you think he's going to be causing a little bit of trouble in the area?
I don't think so. I think Gareth Snow is actually very well respected amongst people who know him and have worked with him. Very many activists in Newcastle on the Line, for example, rate him really highly. Okay, there was a problem with those tweets, and he hasn't had a brilliant campaign because he's been walking on eggshells, frightened of making mistakes maybe. But the Labour Party organisation in Stoke Central is what delivered this election to Labour. If they hadn't got their vote out, if Ruth Smith delivered a brilliant campaign as his agent, combined with the toxic factor, if you like, of Paul Nuttall, delivered this election for him. We'll see. He's only got 3 years before the seat disappears. What will happen then is anybody's guess.
What do we think about the Tory guy then, Jack Brereton, a young chap? Do we think he's got a bright future ahead of him? Well,
it was argued that he was actually a paper candidate. Somebody was just put in there to sort of because they didn't think they had a chance. He's actually surprised everybody with the he's only 25, with the maturity of his performance. He's delivered some very, very good hustings debates. There's an argument perhaps that he may well be selected in 2020 for a potentially safer seat.
Stoke-on-Trent voted overwhelmingly in favour of Brexit. The turnout for this by-election was just over 38%. Do you think that 60, 70% or so people who voted for Brexit are going to be satisfied with Gareth Snow as their MP?
Well, the people who voted for Brexit and who also voted for UKIP are never going to be satisfied. But 38% in the by-election, by the way, is not a bad result. Many people were surprised that it was over 35%. In terms of the difference between a general election and a by-election, that's a pretty good result, only down about 11% from the general election. But whatever you deliver here, to those UKIP supporters and to those into those Brexiteers was not going to satisfy them unless they got a UKIP candidate in.
Future of Paul Nuttall? Will he remain leader for long?
Well, UKIP, of course, don't have a very happy history with their leaders. The last one lasted about 18 days. So effectively, I think that this is the start of a very quick decline for Paul Nuttall. As I said, I've used the word on a number of occasions now. He's toxic. He certainly will be. He's certainly of no advantage to UKIP now in their attempts to sort of generate national interest.
Okay, Mick Temple, thank you very much.